trees and flowering shrubs, bathed by a clear and rapid rivulet, and every now and then, through the arched forest trees, are glimpses of the snowy volcanoes, and of the distant domes and lakes of Mexico. The ruins of the old Carmelite convent, standing on the slope of a hill, are surrounded by noble forests of pine and oak and cedar, long and lofty forest aisles, where the monks of former days wandered in peaceful meditation. But they removed from this beautiful site to another, said to be equally beautiful and wilder, also called the Desierto, but much farther from Mexico. And this fertile region, which the knowing eye of a Yankee would instantly discover to be full of capabilities in the way of machinery, belongs to no one, and lies here deserted in solitary beauty. Some poor Indians live amongst the ruins of the old cloisters, and the wild deer possess the undisputed sovereignty of the woods. It is said that a benighted traveller, who had lost his way in these solitudes, and was miraculously saved from dying of cold, founded this rich convent of Carmelite monks, in gratitude to Heaven for his deliverance, bequeathing his desire that all travellers who passed that way should receive hospitality from the convent. Certainly no place more fitted for devotion could have been selected than this mountain retreat, and when the convent bell tolled at evening, calling the monks to prayer and wakening the echoes of the silent hills, its deep notes must have been all in unison with the solemn scene. But the sight of a very magnificent déjeuner à la fourchette, spread under the pine trees, the uncorking of champagne bottles and Scotch ale, the savoury odour of soups and fricandeaus, the bustling attendance of English waiters, put to flight all romantic fancies. We remembered that we were hungry, that we had ridden 7 miles and had not breakfasted, and no order of friars could have done more justice to the repast than we did. But the component parts of a party of pleasure must be very curiously selected, the mosaic of the society very nicely fitted, or it will inevitably terminate unpleasantly, and the elements of discord are more dangerous, their effects more lasting than even the coughs and colds and rheumatisms, produced by these watery elements, sworn foes to all picnics and gipsy parties in our foggy island. About 4 o'clock we remounted our horses and retraced our path through the woods. And who could ruminate on petty disputes, or complain of trifling accidents, or not forget any disagreeable individuals who might have been found among our numerous party, when the splendid panorama of Mexico burst upon us, with all its mountains, lakes, and plains, its churches and towers and gardens bathed in a flood of golden light, the rich crimson clouds of sunset resting upon the snow of the volcanoes, while the woods through which our horses picked their steps, over stones and streamlets, were fragrant with blossoming shrubs and wild roses. When we reached the inn where the carriages had been left, we remounted our horses, and as it was growing dusk, and the whole party had not yet collected together, we thought it advisable for the equestrian part of the expedition to ride forward. So, leaving the carriages with their escort, we set off for Mexico. C n, I, A, and a servant at full gallop, and hardly drew our bridles till we reached the city, tired, as you may suppose, after our 14 leagues' ride. 20th. Our yesterday evening's tertulia was very crowded, and there was a great deal of music and dancing. These weekly soirées are decidedly successful, and the best families in Mexico unite there without etiquette, which we were told it was impossible to bring about. Perhaps it is that I am getting accustomed to the Mexican style of face, but it appeared to me that there was a great deal of beauty assembled, and as for fine voices, they are as common in Mexico as they are rare in England. A rich senator, Don B g, made a vow to the Virgin some years ago, that he would cause a splendid mass to be performed annually in the cathedral, at his own expense, in honour of our Saviour's birth, on the morning of Christmas Eve. This mass is performed entirely by amateurs, most of the young ladies in Mexico who have fine voices taking part in it. I was drawn in very unwillingly to promise to take a trifling part on the harp, the accompaniment to the Incarnatus. Preparations have long been going on for this solemnization, and various rehearsals have taken place amongst the amateur singers in the evening, before large audiences in the Mineria. The whole thing promises well. 24th. C n has gone with Señor Zurutuza, a Spanish gentleman, to Cuernavaca, in Tierra Caliente, to spend a few days at his estate in the neighbourhood, which at this season will be delightful. This morning we rode to San Joaquin, where we met the prior on horseback, on his way to Mexico, to confess the old prioress of the convent of Santa Teresa. He turned back and accompanied us during the rest of our ride. He rode with us to Tacuba, round the traces of the ruins, and to the fine old church and dismantled convent, where we dismounted, and having taken off our riding hats, accompanied the prior through the deserted cloisters into the old church, and I imagine we must have looked very picturesque. I in my riding habit, and the sandaled friar in his white robes kneeling side by side on the broken steps of the altar. He is so pleasant and well informed, that he is a particularly agreeable companion. End of letter the 29th.